Brian, thank you so much for the time. How you doing today?
I'm great, man. How are you?
I'm doing good and excited to have you back in Austin. I know this isn't your first rodeo. Austin is a place that you hold fondly long before it became a sort of a live comedy capital of the world. Does it surprise you at all to see what Austin has become in terms of comedy and just what it means to stand up now?
No, because it always had its cool spots. I can never remember the name of those places that have been on Fourth forever downtown, and then of course, God, what was the
Velveeta Room
main?
is one.
Yeah, Velveeta, and then the spot outside of town that's been a great comedy club forever.
Cap City.
Yeah, Cap City.
Yep.
You've always had those places, and then South by Southwest and those festivals. Comedy would always be a big part of that, and fun fest. So, I mean, the town always had. I've always considered it, a place with great audiences, cool place, and a cool place to be for a couple of days. So it's always been one of my favorites. So I'm not that surprised by all the LA dudes moving out there and making it such a scene that they have.
Well,
It
and
totally
people are in
makes
for a
sense. It
treat.
always was a cool place to be.
Sure, sure. And people are in for a treat if they can catch you at Creek in the Cave this weekend. Two shows Friday, two shows on Saturday. I don't know if you've had a chance to perform there just yet, but it's a
I
great
did
club.
one set. I haven't done a weekend yet, but yeah, my set went well. It was during JT Haversatt's festival, that Altercation Fest. He did a show there, and I was part of it, and it was awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm bringing my buddy Johnny Taylor, who's been to Austin with me before. Uh, you know, because his shows will be killer, and then we'll go hang out and have some barbecue and go to record stores. So, which we do in other cities too. But this is going to be a blast. I'm looking forward to it.
Is there a particular barbecue place that you make sure to hit when you're here?
Yeah, I always wind up at is it Style Switch?
Oh,
And then
yeah.
I always yeah, I've been going there forever. And then La Barbecue, and then the famous ones.
Yeah.
Whatever,
Style Switch is
wherever a
actually,
guy wherever a guy from Franklin's is now, or the ones you hear about. I hear about those and go check them out and wait in line with everybody, and.
yeah, Style Switch is my family's favorite spot. They actually have a location out in Cedar Park in the northwest suburbs where we live, but that original location is really good too. Great people that
Yeah,
in
that's
Style
one.
Switch.
It's not super trendy, but it's always good quality. I've been going there for years, and that one I always make a trip of, and I think it's even near Austin Books, so I'll
Yeah.
go over there and before I go sign comics.
Yeah, it is actually. Austin Books is in the 5,000 block of North Lamar, and it's just a little bit further up the road from that. And you're absolutely right, by the way, because some people, for whatever reason, and to each their own, like if you want to use your time that way, you can. They look to stand in that 3 hour line for barbecue.
Yeah.
But the reality here in this town is you can get great barbecue all over the place. It
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
require you to tailgate to do so.
No, with no line, or Style Switch is always packed, but it moves quickly,
Yeah.
and yeah, you're not. It's not a 4 hour commitment just to have lunch.
Exactly. So, as you just alluded to, you are going to be doing a comic book signing at Austin Books and Comics. It is 5002 North Lamar, and you've got a new comic that literally just came out last week called Grommets. It is a mini series, I guess, as of right now. So, for people who haven't heard of it just yet, what is Grommets all about?
Oh, it's crazy. So it's about skateboarding in the 80s, but it's sold out already. So you can still find it at stores, but the publisher ran out of the print. I mean, we
Wow.
sold all the ones we printed. So we're already going to do a second printing, and it's only been out a week. I think it's the Rick Remender name. That guy's, my buddy, and that's who I co-wrote it with. His comics sell out left and right. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, it was actually my idea, and I went to him and said we should write this together. It came during COVID, where I was just sitting around for 2 years, not doing stand up and kind of losing it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I woke up one morning and I went, I want to write a skateboard comic with Rick, and I had the name in my head. Grommets is a skater. It's actually a surfer term, referring to young kids that are into surfing,
Oh.
but it was used by skateboarders too,
Hmm.
it's an old thing, but I thought it would be great for a period piece for growing up in the '80s. It was something I was super into, and Rick grew up in Arizona, and he was into skating too. So we kind of took our both of our stories that we had about skating and hanging out and combined them, and then made like our characters were friends when we were kids. And it's like a coming of age story, but it really leans into the skate culture, and then the '80s references, and you know all these things that we love still.
Even though Rick grew up in Arizona and you grew up in the Sacramento area, was there a lot of crossover in terms of your lifestyles as skaters in high school?
Absolutely. I mean, we all like the same bands, we all like the same movies, and wherever you were, we were into John Carpenter, and we were into those kind of things, and hanging out at the video store, going to Taco Bell, and whatever city that's in, it was the culture was kind of the same.
Did thinking back 40 years on your life back then, because this isn't just about skating, it's just about the struggles and teen angst that just about any teenager can go through. But did that drum up any memories that you had completely forgotten about as you were going about creating this project?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, well, that's what we tried to do. So when we first started writing it, we spent a couple hours just brainstorming and just coming up with stories, and so yeah, there were things of like, oh man, remember that, or to myself of going through and things I hadn't thought about in 30 years, like you said. But I was like, okay, what do I got from back then, and what's something crazy I saw at a party, or what about that time I got chased by a security guard, or that kind of stuff.
Did you ever get caught by a security guard? Because most
Oh,
of the times the skaters get away from the slow-footed security guards.
we got away. I had one without my skateboard where a guy chased me and he fell, and I kind of felt bad, but I got away because he fell.
I also saw through your Instagram that you guys got a blurb from Tony Hawk. I mean, we're talking about the Michael Jordan of skateboarding here. That had to have been pretty cool to have Tony Hawk say such kind things about y'all's comic book.
Yeah, you don't even think of that when you're writing it, like the possibility of that guy reading it. But a friend of mine knows him, so without asking me, uh, gave him a copy of it, and then got the quote, and I knew nothing about it, and just said, hey, by the way, Tony Hawk read your book and here's a quote from him. And I was like, what? Like, and then I shared it with Rick right away.
I've had the pleasure of interviewing him a couple of different times. He is not only is he obviously a badass skateboarder, he's a really cool dude, really down to earth dude as well. And I forget how the subject came up when we spoke a few months ago, because he and Rodney Bollins were doing something here in Austin. But I had mentioned Back to the Future 2, and he admitted to me that he had actually bought the hoverboard from Back to the Future 2. Of course, it's just a piece of wood essentially. It doesn't actually hover. But I asked him how much he paid for it. He's like, I'm embarrassed to even tell you how much I paid for it. But he does have the Back to the Future hoverboard. Considering your prowess, you as somebody who's had the successes that you have over the years, and you leaning into the whole nerddom of things, is there something that you own that you paid way too much money for, but is a piece of your past that you now get to call a part of your present too?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at it. Hang on. It's the guitar from I wanted this guitar for 35 years. It's from Rat, from the band Rat, but it's
Oh,
the one
that
that's
is some
worn.
sweet artwork on that guitar.
Yeah, yeah, I saw it, in like one of their first videos, and it's also in Round and Round, and I always wanted that. And then a few years ago, I was able to, I had a friend uh, tell my wife, you know what he'd really like? And then so this wound up even being a gift, but it's still like, of all the things that I own, it's one thing that I coveted forever, and then I finally got it.
Do you actually play guitar? Have you played that guitar before?
Oh yeah, I play it every day. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm terrible, but I can make some noise.
Fair. You and your wife have a teenage son now, if I'm doing my math correctly,
Yes.
who
Uh,
is actually
turned
graduating
15. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
graduating from eighth grade this year, which is keeping you from getting into town maybe a day earlier than you might otherwise. Boy, the eighth grade graduation, Brian, is up there with the kindergarten graduation, where perhaps
Right.
it's just me being from a different era, but there weren't graduations for passing kindergarten and eighth grade back
Well,
in my day at the
where
19.
I grew up, we did because
Okay.
I went to a separate junior high.
Ah.
So I went through sixth grade at a school, and then I went to a junior high, Altamira, that we write about in the book, in Grommets actually, and
Mm.
it's only seventh and eighth. So we did have a graduation for eighth grade, and we had one for sixth too, which was lame. But eighth grade, we made a big deal of, and you had to buy a suit and all that. And for my son, it's not a big deal, and because he stays at the same school. So it is like you said, where it's like, and he already has the attitude. He's totally my kid. He's just like rolling his eyes, like, why do I have to go, Dad? And I'm like, because your mom. I don't know.
He'll probably be asking the same questions about high school graduation too then.
Right.
It's a healthy attitude to have, by the way, not overvaluing those things. Maybe this isn't the case for the eighth grade graduation, but the kindergarten graduation is completely self-serving for the parents. It's like the 1-year-old's birthday party. It's almost
Oh, for sure.
the parents celebrating that they've actually kept this life form alive for the first year, you know?
Oh man, our 1-year-old birthday party was insane. We went nuts. It's typical LA 1-year-old birthday party, and then we let him have his own cake.
Yeah.
And people were upset that they didn't get to share the cake with the baby, and
What?
like, it's the baby's cake, let it go.
How lavish was the 1-year-old birthday party?
It wasn't lavish, but I mean, it was. We threw some prep into it. We didn't just go to a Chuck E. Cheese and go, here, let's do this. We prepared.
Okay, I was in Chicago with my family last week on vacation, and we ended up going to Chuck E. Cheese with my 7-year-old son. First time I've been to Chuck E. Cheese in probably, or Chuck E. Cheese's, excuse me. It is
Right.
possessive. In, I don't know, 30 years. Boy, Chuck E.
Uh,
Cheese's has gone seriously downhill. Maybe I have false memories about it from my own childhood, but it is a shell of itself now. They no longer have
oh,
the animatronic band because there were some legal disputes, I guess.
right.
There is
And
some
it's terrifying. I mean, Five Nights at Freddy's kind of killed Chuck E. Cheese being cool at all.
I've been told that. I haven't seen Five Nights at Freddy's just yet. I need to check that out though. But unfortunately, you have some poor teenager who dresses up like Chuck E. Cheese now,
Oh,
is
no.
attending these 6 and 7-year-old birthday parties, but they're doing it in the most sterile way possible. The very basic dance. They've clearly been told that don't even get anywhere close to touching any of the kids. It's mostly video now. I mean, it's in the video games. I know it's geared towards a younger audience, but we had like Paperboy at Showbiz Pizza back in the
Yes.
day. There were
Yeah.
still
Or
some cool
720. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like all the cool video games are gone now too. It's all a bunch of like pushing single buttons with advertising all over the video games.
Yeah. Or the crane things where you have an
Yes.
impossible task of stealing something you don't even want,
Oh man, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
bummer.
did have that, and unfortunately, one of the crane games, it was easy for the kids to win, but it was the same little rubber ball, and it's like we don't want to take this thing home with us. We've got to figure out
Yeah.
a way to leave it at Chuck E. Cheese's before we exit the premises.
Or you walk away and your kid has won 20 of those now. And he wants to keep all of them.
Exactly. So you have a teenager, so you've been through the rigors. I'm in the middle of it right now. I've got a 9 and
Yeah.
7-year old. For you, as somebody who has gotten to this point, you've kept the 15-year-old alive through 15 plus years now. What do you think the biggest challenge is for parents in 2024?
Mm. Keeping them off the crap, the internet, and I don't know. That's a tough question. With our guy, he's pretty smart on his own, but you still have to go. hey man, don't believe everything you read, and that kind of thing, because he is spending so much time on, and you can't completely monitor, but and it's so weird being a parent when not long ago I was doing rebellious things, and so it's a weird thing for me, and like also being a gamer and getting mad at like the kids spending too much time on the video games. Like, who am I to talk? The in my 20s and 30s, the hours I spent trying to get through Grand Theft Auto or any of these other things. So I have no room to talk. But do you find, as a parent, you find yourself going, hey, you gotta cut back on the hours you're spending in there, and saying something you can't even believe you're saying.
Yeah, I feel
I
like
do that a lot where I'll say something and go, man, what a dad thing. Like, why did who am I?
Yeah, I feel like the key is figuring out that point of moderation for them, but it's tricky because the video games that they get to play now, and look, I'm guilty also. I play way too much FIFA on my son's Xbox, but like the video games that they get to play now are so much more intensive and so much better than even what we got to play 5, 10, 15 years ago. I mean, I
Oh,
watched
for
my kids
sure.
play Fortnite. I'm like, this would have made my brain blow up if I was playing this as a
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Or some of the, ones where the games are like these huge worlds and they can spend, 30 hours and they're not done.
So as you talked about a little bit earlier, you are a huge metal fan. So I would imagine something that you did a few weeks back in Denver where you got to host an evening of stories with Geezer Butler, of course, the legendary bassist and lyricist for Black Sabbath, was a career highlight for you. Just how cool was that, getting to sit with Geezer and listen to him tell stories from being a rock star for decades?
Yeah, I hope I get to do it again. But we did one. We did Denver, and when it came up, my agent, my agent's cool, but he doesn't completely know metal, and so he was like, "Is this the thing you want to do?" And then when he mentioned who it was, and I went, "Yes, yeah, yeah." Like I already had the book, like. Oh my God. Yeah. Yes, I want to do that. And I had just seen Geddy Lee do it.
Mm-hmm.
Geddy Lee was touring his book. And in every city he went to, he had a different host.
Oh,
And in
okay.
LA, it was Jack Black. So we got to see Jack Black host an evening at Geddy Lee. And it was really great because Jack, you know, way different energy than me. But he's so enthusiastic. And I was like, oh, cool. I get to do what Jack did, but in my way. And so I just read the book over and all the way through, and then I listened to it on tape too, and took notes. And I have a puppy at the house. She's 7 months now, I think. And
7 month old collie, right? So ton of energy
no,
too.
no, she's a Bernese Mountain Dog, but yes, a ton of energy. She's like a Velociraptor. She already weighs 70 pounds, and she's only 7 months old. It's crazy. She's gonna be huge. She's gonna be like 110. Anyway, she takes things and takes them outside and destroys them. She's taken my Vans, a couple of guitar picks, um, and she took my notes for the Geezer Butler thing and completely destroyed them. And I was out in the backyard doing something, and I heard her come out there, and I knew she was up to no good. And but I waited a minute. I didn't go over right away, and I wish I would have. So I could have taken it out of her mouth before she got started. But she completely tore it to crap, and so I had to take all my notes out or find all these pieces of notes and then write them all out and then type it out. But that night I got to say, yeah, my dog actually ate my homework for this event. The most cliche thing you could possibly say, and it was totally true.
So you're normally on the other end of those interviews. Did you feel pretty good about the job that you were able to do and helping to set Geezer up to tell some of these cool stories?
I did, yeah. There was one point where I got lost in the middle of it, but yeah, I was able to get over my nerves, and it's like when I go out and to do stand up, I have a fair amount of nerves every night, and I deal with it. And I always tell myself, well, like if I didn't get nervous at this point, that's a sign maybe I should stop. But I still get them, and so this I was even more nervous about because I knew I could do it, but it's not something that I do every night like stand up, and so yeah, I was kind of shaking at the top, and but I got through it, and I hit all my questions, and we had laughs, and he was a great storyteller.
Mm.
So it was more just like keeping him on, keeping it together and keeping it moving, and you know, when he would get lost, redirect it and that kind of thing, and but that was it, and then I got to have the audience actually ask questions, and it was super fun.
I agree with you that those nerves are a good thing. That shows that you care. And as soon as you get up on stage and you get into your whatever the current hour is, those nerves melt away pretty quickly. But the
Oh,
nerves,
absolutely.
they get you focused. They get you ready to go.
Yeah, I think it's yeah, that's totally my case.
So as far as the new hour that you're bringing to Austin this weekend is concerned, 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday at Creek in the Cave. Go to creekandcave.com to snag tickets. Is there a general theme that you're working with right now? Because obviously you came out with your most recent special about a year ago. It is Posehn non grata. Hilarious. God, I love that rock story, by the way. But what's going on with the new hour?
So that story's retired. Most of the stuff from that special is retired or being retired, but I have a couple bits left over from it. But
Okay.
it's mostly all new, and there's dog stuff. I had a dog die last year, and I don't do a total. It's not depressing, but I talk about it. I got in a car accident, and so I have a 20-minute bit about almost dying while Van Halen is playing. So that's the thing I'm excited about. And it's a fun story to tell, and there's a lot of details about it. But like the night after I almost died, I had a version of it. So but it's been progressing and becoming more solid as I go.
And just a couple more questions now, Brian. We talked about your skater past a little bit ago. And discussing this with Tony Hawk, a lot of skaters love skateboarding for plenty of reasons, including that skateboarding feels like a great metaphor for life. Is that how you see things? And if so, how do you see skateboarding as such a great metaphor for life?
Yeah, I mean, it's a metaphor for a lot, or for getting good at anything. You have to do it every day, and you have to fall a lot, and uh you know yeah, skateboarding is one of those things that you get hurt a lot till you figure things out, and you still do. I don't do the sketchy stuff anymore, and I got real heavy so for a while I wasn't even stepping on one. But yeah, it's like that is like life. You got to put it out there. If you want to succeed at anything, you got to really put yourself out there, and especially at skateboarding, you know what I mean? Like, or to get good at anything, you got to fall a lot, and you got to take some chances. And I think that's true in a lot of things in life.
What's the worst injury you ever suffered skateboarding?
I broke both wrists,
Mm.
and then I had some sprains too. But I think the worst thing was my face plant, where I wasn't wearing a helmet, and I went into a. It's in the book. It's in the first book, where I actually was wearing braces at the time, and I had one of the wires pop out of my brace and go through my lip, and I still have a hole in my. Well, it's not a hole anymore, but I still have a bump on my lip from that. And my grandfather took me back home to his garage and cut the wire and then bent the wire back into my mouth because it was going to be like, it was on the weekend, and it was going to be like a couple of days before I could get to an orthodontist. But that was probably the worst.
Rub some dirt on it too. All right. So based on that,
Yeah.
then what's the coolest trick that you ever pulled off on a skateboard?
I don't think I could do a kickflip now, but I feel like I did in the old days.
Yeah.
When and just ollies and we would do the dumbest things. Like we would do, and I don't even know if it's like how much of a trick it was at just acid dropping off things. Like you'd step on your friend's car and jump off your friend's car and land on the board, and just dumb shit like that.
All right. Last question now, Brian. I love stand up. You love stand up. What do you love about stand up?
Well, for me, it's the writing, it's the storytelling. I love being able to take something that actually happened to me and finding the humor in it. And that's the older I get, that's kind of where my comedy is gone. I love telling like real stories, but finding the humor.
That includes apparently almost dying while Van Halen.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that I could do that I could, walk away from a car accident and have 20 minutes about it.
Exactly. And you have a chance to hear that story and a whole lot more as Brian's going to be here in Austin this weekend at Creek in the Cave. 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday, 7 and 9 each night. You can go to creekandcave.com for tickets. Also check out Brian at Austin Books and Comics. He's got a brand new comic out. It's already about to go through its second printing because it is selling so well. It's called Grommets. The signing at Austin Books and Comics is at from 1 to 3 on Saturday, and that's 5002 North Lamar. Brian, thank you so much for the time, man. Really enjoyed this conversation. Safe travels to and from Austin this weekend.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Still watching on YouTube, I would greatly appreciate you subscribing to this channel if you have not already. Also, click thumbs up for today's episode. Thanks to Gentleman Jesus for the intro and outro music. Hear more of his work at gentlemanjesus.com. And thanks to you for hanging out. For more of the show and to connect on social media, visit booksonpod.com. We'll talk to you next time on Books on Pod.